Welcome, everyone, to our Tuesday afternoon Accelerated Breakthrough Mastermind Session. Gang, we do this every single Tuesday, and I want you to keep showing up week after week after week. It's just 30 minutes out of your day, yet it's going to give you the knowledge, the skills, the mindset, and habits to really just go out there next year and just make it the best financial year of your lifetime. Now, each week, I do my very best to identify somebody that I perceive to be what I call an icon of our industry, somebody who's kind of been there and done that. They're willing to open the kimono and say, here's what I do, here's how I do it, and here's what I recommend that you do. Now, some of these strategies and tactics won't be right for you, and that's okay. I want you to view this call as kind of like the buffet on a cruise ship, right? How many of you guys been on a cruise ship before? Anyone? Yeah, huge buffets, right? I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of people, they're going through the lines. And now, of course, you're not going to take every type of food that they offer and put it on your plate. There are certain things you don't like, and that's okay. And here's what I want you to do. Just take the things away from this call every week that you can implement and deploy like right now to gain more traction in your real estate sales career. So today, it's all about you. It's all about improving your production and your profit. Now, the person that I identified for today's call, his name is Frank Valente. I've got so much respect for this man. He's a former commander in the Navy. He's built one heck of a real estate sales practice. He's been through the ups and the downs of the markets, right? And he's figured out how to modify his approach and strategy. And that's what today's call is really about. It's about different strategies and tactics that you can implement right now. Okay. So Frank, without any further delay, why don't you introduce yourself to the group? Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into real estate? How long you've been doing it? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? That sort of thing. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll kind of tell the story and then how I dealt with the shift, and then maybe they'll spur the right questions. But I grew up in Detroit, ended up eventually the Navy, went to the Naval Academy, and then the Navy got me to the West Coast. It was in San Diego, loved it. And my wife's family's from Northern California. So when I retired from the Navy, it was 2002. I moved up to Northern California. I'm actually up here. I live in a small town called Penryn, but I'm in the Sacramento area. So Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado counties. So you know what? I'm tired of working for people, so I'm going to work for myself. So I'm going to get into real estate. And I really didn't put a lot of thought at that time into doing it. One thing I did though, when I think back, I moved areas. I knew a lot of people in San Diego. I didn't know a lot of people where I moved to. Starting a new real estate practice, probably not the best thing.
So Frank, just real quick, let me interrupt. What were you thinking, by the way? I mean, seriously, the average sales price in San Diego versus Sacramento, and I'm gonna poke at you just a little bit.
You can.
What brought you to Sacramento from San Diego?
My wife's family. Family.
All right, so you had a powerful why behind it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just
poking at you. Family. But two of her family members were real estate agents. So it wasn't, so when I got started up here, it was I had plenty of time, not a lot of money to spend on marketing. So I was a cold call junkie. I was a expired calling fanatic. And
what do you think's going on with the market now? Do you think that expired market is something that these agents should really focus on?
I would maybe start to. There may not be enough of them. I mean, you can't do that. There may not be enough. I'll give you some, and that's where you got to know your numbers. No matter what market you are, you have to know your numbers and study your market. You know, how many actives, how many sold. So right now, say for Placer, El Dorado, Sac County, today we had less than 2,000 homes on the market right now in MLS. Back when I started in 2003, for those three counties, we were always running at least 6,000 homes. Right. And then when the market shifted there, we had over 16,000 homes.
Was this back in 2008?
This is about 06, by 06, that's when it really tipped here. So that's by a factor of 8.
Yeah.
Right. So depending on your market, calling expires may be something to do. I mean, it got to where I was at where there was so many homes that were just way overpriced that they weren't even on the market really. Right. So at that time, I got lucky and it became a major focus of my real estate in a sense as I shifted into doing the REO market first. And I remember sitting there, I don't want to beat up on bold class, but I was literally in a bold class at KW at the time. And they're teaching us how to call expired listings and FSBOs. And I'm thinking, they're not work. What are you teaching us? And then I remember the office manager saying, oh yeah, Tom's going down to LA to talk to banks about listing REOs. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's actually flying out of the area to go face to face. I'm like, oh my, wow. And I'm thinking, well, why ain't they teaching us how to do that? Anyways, so first lesson, I was one of my
Frank, you do know I'm the co-author of the Bold Training Program, right?
Yeah, that's why I have to be careful, right? Well, you were telling them to teach it at that time, but and that's the best course. So, and oh, by the way, your courses are the best money for the bang for the buck. But so one of my buddies at the time was a lender with Wells Fargo, and he said, "Hey, Frank, do you want to sell REOs?" I go, "What's an REO?" He goes, "It's a foreclosure." He goes, "You guys pay $800 and take a course with PAS, Premier Asset Services. That was Wells Fargo's asset management company. Take this course for $800 and we'll give you a couple REOs to sell." So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend $800 on some course. And so I did. And it happened. I mean, I started getting, an email like, "Frank, do you want to list this house?" Of course I do, right? So when a shift happens and we're going through a shift, I mean, you got to look at what you're doing. And that got me to break into the REO market. It is tough. I'll be honest with people. It is tough if you haven't done it before, the banks and the asset management departments, if you haven't done it before, it's tough to, make that first break. That got me in. And then that allowed me to kind of leverage that, leverage that with other banks and other asset management companies to bring on other REO accounts. And then that became my business. Now we were probably at the time one of the ground zeros for REO up here in Sacramento. We were probably one of the hardest hit areas next to Vegas. Mm-hmm. And at the height of my REO market, I think I had 77 addresses that I was responsible for.
Nice.
So but you're becoming a property manager for this REO department. So kind of the first lesson, if you want to think, hey, I want to tip my toes into REO, I would be networking with lenders, but try to go higher than the lender with that have access to REO departments. So like Wells Fargo, Chase, I don't think B of A anymore, but that first networking was what got me into it. And now they wanted something in return too. One thing they talked a lot about was their recapture rate. So they monitored, with those listings that they gave me, how many people were getting pre-approved with that lender, how many were closing, then closing, and how many referrals I was giving back to them. So if you have relationships with, a lender that's maybe just a broker, he may not be able to help you in this area. So that was my first, kind of my first break into REO. The second break is doing just what we're doing right now, and that's masterminding. And at the time, I used to go to a lot of Mike Ferry events, and there was 4 or 5 of us agents that would meet at these events and have lunch. And then when the market started to change, because we were all calling expired, I said, what are you doing these REOs? Well, yeah. Well, how do you do it? So we created an REO mastermind group, and I'm still in touch with 6, 7 of these agents today. But we started to share our REO best practices, but also REO leads with each other. And it's you're probably not going to get a referral on how to get an REO listing from an agent in your market.
Sure.
But you may get one from an agent that you meet in a mastermind group or at an event that's you're in Michigan and they're in Florida. So creating that mastermind group, networking with other agents, and then I was doing the same thing. It was pretty extreme. We were jumping on planes. I was a lot of the asset management companies. And when I use the term asset management, because if you're, they don't call them house. There's a whole lexicon to REOs. Like they don't talk about houses and homes. They call them assets. So the department that manage the REOs for the banks, either they may be in-house or they may be a third-party company. For whatever reason, a lot of them were located in Southern California in the Irvine area. A lot of them are located in Denver. A lot were located in Dallas. So this group of 20 of us, we would peel off, and probably one of the most successful things we did, for example, was we hosted a Lakers game. We rented a box up at the Lakers game, serve food and drinks. We all invited our REO contacts that we knew from Southern Cal to come to the Lakers game. It's like the only basketball game that I've ever been to in my life. Oh, by the way, but just not you're 5'6" and ain't your sport. So, but I met, Barry Smith, who at the time, his associate worked for Condor Capital, and then that became HMC. I'm still in contact today with Barry Smith, who I met 15 years ago. Right now, at that time, even doing that event was about I think we probably each wrote a check for about $1,000 to do that. So it was pretty extreme. We're jumping on planes and, whining and dying asset managers. So that was kind of my second lesson there in breaking into the REO market.
Right on. So during that time that you were working the REOs, how many BPOs were you doing per day?
Okay.
What did that look like?
Okay, so you're bringing on a good question. That's the negative side to doing REOs. There was a lot of, it was kind of magic. You'd open up your computer, you open up your cell phone, and it's like, oh my God, I got 4 listings today. I remember specifically being with this group. We were meeting somewhere in Vegas. There was 3 of us having breakfast, and Juan goes, and he was doing a lot. He goes, I just got 4 REOs today. And then Scott goes, I got 2. And then I only got 1. But it's kind of seductive. But then once you got that REO, all hell broke loose, because like, for example, doing BPOs, you had every BPO is a broker price opinion. It's basically a simple appraisal. So I was doing several broker price opinions a week, monthly, or just simple monthly marketing reports.
Yeah, and they pay you $40 for it. It takes you an hour. It's not fun.
But it's not worth it. No, I would caution anyone against doing BPOs. I would it's not worth the money. I would never do them for free. There will be companies that will try to get you to do BPOs for free. I would only do them if that BPO company was tied in with, had an REO department. And that's the third way of getting into the REOs.
Love it, right?
But you could waste right. So again, I didn't do it for the money, but I looked at, okay, BPO company, do you have an REO department? And are you going to let me into the REO department? And I'll do BPOs for you. But that's probably the third way to get in. So once, again, it's, creating relationships with lenders. 2 was masterminding with other REO agents. And 3 was, doing BPOs, but being very selective about doing BPOs. Now,
that is powerful advice, brother. Thank you for that.
So the REO market really, we were talking, I don't remember, about 2010, about a wave of REOs were going to happen. And they were, the asset man were telling us to ramp out, because at the time I had 2 full-time staff members to manage these REOs with me that I was paying. But we were waiting for just, there was, and all of a sudden it just started to slow up. And this could be a topic of lots of other conversations, but
Sure.
Government just put their thumb down on the big lenders and said, you're not going to foreclose. Before you foreclose, you better offer them a short sale, hint, hint, hint. So maybe short sales is something to think about. You better offer them a loan mod. And, the REO market just dried away. The foreclosures were still going up, but the REOs weren't hitting the streets.
Right.
And so about that time is when I made another, but I kind of like having that corporate, that steady channel of business. And I got introduced to an agent that was doing a lot of probates.
I want to segue there
Yes.
to probate, Frank. Yet before we move on from REO, what questions do you have for Frank? You can unmute yourself, ask the question live. You can go down to the chat function at the bottom of the screen, raise your hand. You can ask whatever question you have. About the REO division. Go ahead, Jen.
Is it primarily only larger banks that you can do the REOs? Like I've never done a BPO or an REO. I did get express offer certified and I had my first one. I meet with her January 7th.
To meet with who?
It's an express offer. You ever heard of those?
Yep.
Okay.
So the banks, some of the big banks, so like say Wells Fargo had an REO department,
Oh,
but they moved them off to a company called Premier Asset Services. And that was what we call an asset management company. They handled the REOs. Chase did them all in-house.
okay.
At the time, Bank of America handed them all off to third-party companies called asset managers.
Okay.
So some of the, so those are the, and you're gonna have to ferret that out, and you need to get to like the area manager type level. Say, hey, do you have an REO department? Is the question I would ask. Some of the small community banks in your, depending on where you're located, may that do what they call portfolio loans. They may eventually get to have their own REOs, and they may handle those in-house. There may not be a lot of a ton from a community bank, but that would be another source of. I've gotten a handful from a couple of community banks in our area.
Is that the same thing you did to get into BPOs too? Just the big.
When I got into BPO, it was because I started doing the BPOs because I had to do them for Premier Asset Services.
Yeah.
And then that's why I did them. But
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Right on, Frank. And thank you, Jen. Great question. Scott, go ahead.
Hey, Frank, how you doing?
Good.
Go Lions.
Hey, that's right.
All right. So, hey, now that we got that out of the way, what was your conversation like with the bank itself, and who was the lead person to put you with the REO people?
That was, I was, for example, so to get in with Wells Fargo was a no-brainer because I was buddies with that lender. He said, "Hey, Frank, you want to do this?" Okay, boom. Chase, I met another lender, and his name was Scott. I said, "Scott, I'm doing a lot of REOs for Wells Fargo. I love to get REOs with Chase. How do I do it, Scott?" And I was like, "Well, send me some business, Frank." And I started sending them leads, buyer leads. But it was pretty direct conversation. It's a business to business conversation, so it was pretty direct. I've been doing REOs, and I want to get into your REO department. Now, you could, if you've never done them before, you're with EXP, you're express offer certified, you could have a conversation like, we do REOs, EXP does REOs, we do REOs, and I would like to, get into your REO department. That is it, and it was pretty direct and just bang, bang, bang. So,
thanks a lot, Frank.
Good job. All right, now we're going to transfer guys over to probate because Frank is, I think, one of the best in the world at identifying probate leads, to follow up with them, to earn their business. And Frank's just going to give you some actionable strategies right now to start doing probate business, to start getting those listings.
Yeah.
So Frank, if you're brand new to probate, you've never done one before, what do you do? Just give it to us step by step. And we've only got 3 minutes left, so make it fast.
Okay. So probates, I love probates. There's always going to be probates. Doesn't matter
Always.
the market. People are always dying. The estate has to sell that home, and they're not going to ask you stupid questions like, "Hey, can you put more flyers in the fly box for me?" Right? Because they're dead. So I love working probates. So the first source of business.
Enough with the flyers.
No flyers, man.
That's
So,
terrible.
they're not going to ask you to do an open house and some. It's going to be stuff. So you could get them. A great source is attorneys that do probates, CPAs that do probate, that do trusts, and also fiduciaries. And there's private fiduciaries and public fiduciaries. So again, those are in a sense longer lead time, because they're not going to give them to you right away. I mean, they already have people that they're using, but those would be my first. I would start creating a list of attorneys to do probates, trusts, fiduciaries. But the thing that you could do right now yourself is, the probates are public record. Okay, so in California they're by county, so you have to do some honey and pecking. But I would go to, my wife and I have assistants trained to do this. I would go to the counties, and you're looking for probate records. They're public records. So when an executor of an estate or the personal representative of the estate files what we call, here's a term, petition for probate. You're going to look for this form, petition for probate. When they file that form, they're saying, "Hey, I want to be the executor of this state," or I want, or what we call the PR, personal representative for this state, for this estate. At that point, they're raising their hand and says, "I need to handle this in this properties." And in that petition for probate, it will say whether or not there's real property to sell. So once you find that petition for probate, which is a public record, which is either going to be online or in person, you can find out who the executor is. That's your contact. That's your lead. Probably somewhere in that record is his email, his address, his phone number, and that's your lead. And it's a really basic script that I've used for years and years and years. I'll say, "Hey, Sean, this is Frank Valente. I'm an agent over here at EXP in Northern California, and I saw that your family may have a home to sell." And then I would shut up and see what they say.
So simple, guys. When you know what to say, you know how to say it, and you say it to enough people, you're going to get that business, no doubt.
But probates are, again, the lead source is the public records themselves, attorneys, trust CPAs, fiduciaries. There are some services that will say they'll sell you probate leads, because they'll go in there. I wasn't as happy with them myself, because what they were doing is they were pulling, because there could be also some files in there that have nothing, that may not even have a property to sell. And, but they may sell you that as a lead. So I did better with just doing my own research, and then ultimately I've trained an assistant. You're not going to want to do it yourself long term, but it's something you definitely want to train someone and pay them, $20 an hour to do.
Well, and in order to delegate it, you've got to understand it to build the system around it, right?
Right. So yeah, when
Once
I
you
first
understand
started, I know how to do it. I mean, I know specifically how to go down to the county and do that myself. And like I said, I've trained my wife, and I got another assistant opportunity to do it.
Right on, Frank. Well, we have reached the maximum time limit, guys. We've gone 1 minute over. So thank you for the extra minute. I trust that you gained something from Frank
I
today.
hope so.
Frank, thank you so much.
Well, thank
By the
you.
way, if maybe you guys want a little help, okay, just simply go to iconcoaching.com. Click on that free coaching call button, put in your information, identify a time that you can meet with my right-hand guy here. His name is Paul Hellam. He's going to help you solve at least one significant issue in your business. He's going to help you bridge the gap. Whatever gap exists, we're going to find it. Then we're going to find the strategy or tactic that's going to help you bridge it. Okay. So just do that. It's free. There's no strings, no obligations, none of that stuff. Additionally, I see that Tim Ventura posted to the chat to join our Icon community. Seriously, click that link, join our private Facebook group. We're posting videos like this one, webinars, live events, things of that nature, as well as other systems, strategies, scripts, dialogues, objection handlers, everything that we've got. We're going to post it to that community, and I want you to be part of it. See, I think we all want to be part of something bigger than we can be all by ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, once you go to the community, you can send referrals, get referrals, ask questions, get answers, share your struggles, your challenges, get, just advice from other people who have been there and done that. See, success leaves clues. And I want to be a community of like-minded people who want to help each other succeed. So please do that. Also, please follow Sean's new account on Twitter. Yes, I see that.
And if I could interject for just a moment, in the Icon community, when people go into that, after they join the Icon community, there are going to be links to this call as well as EXP agents for tomorrow's call. I should also mention the files area. You have been uploading for years. You have been uploading a collection of really remarkable files that agents can use. I am going to be adding some more as well in the next day. So there are already a ton of materials up there. So people should definitely, it's in chat, click on that Icon community. There's also a link to schedule a call with Paul there as well.
Can I make a quick comment on your stuff?
Go for it, Frank.
Hey, I've had lots of different coaches over the years. And I'm going to tell you, if you that material that you have in there, if someone just said, this is all I get to use for the rest of my career, there's more in there that you'll ever use. I mean, you have a complete master's course on how to have a real estate career without, you don't need to go to some other coaching program.
Well, Frank, I'll tell you what, I've been honored to be your coach over the last couple of years. It's been fun to watch you grow and stretch and improve and improve the production at the same time. So way to go, Frank. Thank you for the honor. And guys, until we talk again next week, I just want you to be on purpose, be productive, and as always, be powerful. We'll talk again next Tuesday. Bye-bye, everyone.